it's flashing at me saying, you're supposed to go live. You need to go live now. You told people you were going to be live at 1 o'clock. Well, now we are. Hey, everyone. So we are just waiting for Darren to join us. I expect he's going to be with us any moment. Maybe. Oh, I know what I was going to ask. I saw that you had elections this last week. I didn't see the results. I missed the results. Do you?
That's because
now
really
remember
isn't.
We're live. I don't know if you can share this live, but
yeah, I can.
Okay.
This is okay. Mute that. That's because it almost never changes. I feel like I'm El Presidente for life.
Yes, I've been there. Yeah, there was a business group I belonged to, and our president of the group kept getting reelected every single year, and he didn't want to be elected, and he tried to foist it off on me, and I said, nope, you're president. I said, I will be vice president if you really, really need me to be, but the short answer is no.
I was vice president until our president had a stroke, and we switched jobs.
Okay. Darren, you are off center. Why are you off center?
Absolutely. Very off center. See if I can move things around a tad. Oops, I'm going the wrong way.
Move things around so you can lean and be centered.
Oh, this is not right. Oh, dear. I'll let you do it electronically. You're the master at this.
I've got you over as far as I can.
Really? Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Okay, right, okay. Yes. Oh,
other direction. There you go. Well, that's better.
Your other left.
Yeah, your other left. There you go. That's better. Much better. See, now I can zoom in out if I want to, but yeah, you were too far over. Let's see if I can get all of our heads roughly the same size here.
I just realized the time on the email you sent. I think I might be late. I thought it was going to be 7 o'clock, but I just for me 7 o'clock, so 1 p.m. your time. But
1 p.m.
Oh, is it? Because I looked at the email just a minute ago and it said 12:45, and I thought, oh, I'm late.
Oh, that was I schedule it that way just in case anyone joins early, which I know you never do. So, but Bob and I were having a wonderful conversation offline here.
Excellent,
we were talking about you.
Yeah.
Oh, well, good things, hopefully.
And we've got Brian in our chat room, which is great. So, all right. Let's see. Where are my notes?
Oh, yes, notes. That's a good idea.
So did you pare yours down, Darren? Did you take your list and reduce it down?
Well, luckily, I didn't have to. I got to 5, 6. My sixth number was blank, so that was fine. You said between blank. 3 and 5 or something. That'd be great, and to put them in order. And I'd already put them in order, so yeah, ready and round to go. No worries.
All right.
My first two, anyway, are sort of related. So yeah, very very easy.
And
should be.
I mentioned. We're talking about our New Year tech resolutions here today on the show. And I mentioned in an email to all of you that I had a brilliant one that I was going to mention, and it just left my brain. This morning it came back because apparently I was doing the exact same thing on my Mac that I was doing the other day when I thought of it. And I went, that was it. That was
Boom.
it. That's what I wanted to write down. So...
Cool. Let's come back to you, and you stuck that on your note as you thought of it.
Oh, wait, was I supposed to write it down? I don't know. Yeah, no, I did. I did write it down, yeah. In fact, I thought of a different one. I was on a phone conversation with another friend the other day, and we were talking about mailing lists. And I thought of a different resolution in relation to that perhaps I should mention as well. So I went from 2 to 4. I don't know if we'll get to all 4, but and then
Oh, are we going to do
cool.
this? Are we going to do this like Chuck's gift gift guide, where we do a
basically,
round robin kind of thing?
yeah, we'll do a little
Cool.
round
Yeah.
robin thing, and we will start with you. Once I get you the little introduction, Bob, we'll start with you. Toss it over there and let you go pick your first one, and we'll just kind of bounce around. Darren, me. Oh, and I have some resolutions from some listeners as well.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Bonus resolutions.
Bonus resolutions. Quite good ones, too. Quite good ones.
Cool.
All right. So we should probably get started, huh?
Sounds good.
That'd be a good idea.
I'm glad I wasn't late.
I was trying to think of a good title for the episode, and I did. I did think of a pretty good title.
But did you remember it?
I did. That is a thing with me. I think of a good title, and I thought, oh yeah, I got to write that down, and then I forget it, and it's gone forever. The side effect of getting old. But I did. I wrote this one down. It fits within the topic of the show. It incorporates our guest. It is punny. I like a little punny
A good pun.
punny title. And I thought, I wonder. I thought, okay, I'm going to throw this out to ChatGPT and just see what kind of titles it comes up with. If I say, yeah, I want something that's humorous or witty and incorporates tech New Year resolutions and incorporates our guest name and all that. And wouldn't you know, it came back with the same title I came up with.
Wow.
Does that mean you're at least as smart as ChatGPT?
Or the other way around?
It came
Does
up
that
with
mean
like 30.
AI is as smart as Mike? Excellent.
It came up with like 20, 25 different titles, but one of them was this title that I came up with. So I'm
Great minds think alike, they say.
or yeah, Mike's mind thinks like a machine. How about that?
Wow.
Okay. Well, let's get started. I think we'll get started. This will be not a record, but 8 minutes in. That's not bad.
Yeah, I'm really pleased actually. I didn't appear halfway through an episode.
And Darren, you might like this. The new beta release of Ecamm Live was just released out on Friday. Friday, I think it came out. New feature coming to it, which I am kind of looking forward to using, is that you can end the recording but keep the live stream going. You can end the recording but keep the live stream going. When we end the recording, it ends the live stream. And we're not using the beta right now. It's too new. I'm not going to use it for this, this close to its release.
That's the thing. Yeah, we have to know when to start swearing when the show ends.
That's right. But we can keep talking, but it's no longer streaming. So what we can do is with the next release, we can end the recording, but keep that live stream going in case there's anything else we want to talk about and put out there on the live stream that doesn't need to be in the final episode of the show.
Flexible. That's
so
quite
good.
Yeah.
For Mac Guys Only After Dark kind of a thing. And
wow,
it's too bad we can't do it now because I know Bob would have a ton of stuff to share on that.
Well, yeah, I think we all have with the events that have been happening over the last few days, I'm sure.
Okay, so here we go. We will get started in where are we? 12:15. Yes, I actually use a pencil and paper to write that down. Okay. In 3, 2, 1. It's For Mac Guys Only, episode number 465 for January 24th, 2026. Would you make a resolution? Hey everyone, welcome back to For Mac Guys Only, the show for the Mac community, where we share our thoughts and opinions on current Mac news and events. And joining me to share their tech resolutions for the new year are Mr. Darren Davies. Howdy, Darren.
Howdy.
And our guest this episode, Mac consultant and president of the Tucson Mac Users Group, Bob Wood. Hi, Bob. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm pleased to be here, and thanks for inviting me.
Oh, we are so happy to have you. And remember, we do normally record For Mac Guys Only live on YouTube the second and fourth Saturday of the month. And if you would like to come hang out, ask questions, and be part of our live studio audience, be sure to subscribe to the show at youtube.com/FMEOTV. And if you are joining us live, I'm going to be keeping an eye on the chat room right over here to my right to my right. So if you have any questions or comments as we move along, be sure to drop them in there, and we'll try to address them here on the show. Well, this episode's topic actually came up because Bob posted a simple message to the T-Mug discussion group on New Year's Eve, I think it was. And the message was, "This is the time to think about Apple and tech-related resolutions. Reply to this post with your tech-related resolutions and share what you are resolving for 2026. And as soon as I saw that, I had quickly sent out an email to Eric and Darren both, and I said, I want to get Bob on the show to discuss this. What do you think? And their response was an enthusiastic yes. I don't think it's a topic we've ever covered on the show before, but it is a fantastic thought experiment. What are our tech resolutions for 2026? So I'm going to just go ahead and throw it over to you, Bob. What inspired you to post this question to the group, and what kind of response did you get from the group?
Well, as a officer of a local Macintosh user group, I deal with a lot of questions from our users. And our users are generally, how should I say it? Seasoned citizens, mostly. And they have a lot of questions, and I try to answer them. So I'm trying to think of the things that they have asked. And I think I posted this, what are your resolutions, too late in the day. I should have done it closer to Christmas rather than New Year's Eve, because I didn't get very much response on that. But I have several tech-related or Apple-related or Mac-related New Year's resolutions. And Mike said he would allow me to go first. And my first resolution is regarding education. And I think that I want to educate myself in learning the Mac features and applications that I already own and the ones that already come with my Mac, to be able to better use them and have more productivity using those apps. So that's my number one.
I think that's a fantastic resolution. I certainly come across, well, myself included, come across plenty of Mac users who aren't even aware of some of the apps that come with their Mac right out of the box. Apps that provide some amazing functionality, and we could even throw pages and numbers and Keynote in there because they are included free with every Mac now. But things that have been with the Mac for years, like iMovie, or guess what? Dig down into that utilities folder in your applications and find all kinds of amazing things in there, like color pickers and font management utilities, and the grapher That just popped into my head.
Ah,
There's a
the famous grapher.
fantastic
Yeah,
app in there for graphing out mathematical equations right
indeed.
there in
In
your Mac,
3D, no less.
in in 3D no less. So there's all kinds of and I do use the digital color meter all the time. You know, people might write off that folder as just being disk utility or the screenshot app or things like that. I don't even think about the screenshot app being in there because I know the keystrokes from my keyboard. But Activity Monitor is another one that I pull up all the time, and that's a very useful app to have at your fingertips. But yeah, you're right. There are just so many apps in there that I think a good majority of us, again, myself included, just don't take full advantage of. What app in particular, Bob, are you wanting to learn more about?
Well, the one I'm thinking of is the Affinity Suite
Ah,
Oh,
of
yes.
Affinity Photos, Affinity Publisher, and otherwise, they have. I've owned the Affinity applications for since the early version one.
hmm
Now they've pushed them all together and
Mm.
improved them, and published them for free. And I would like to know
Yeah.
more about that. I'm pretty good with Publisher, and I'm pretty good with their uh, Affinity Photos. But as far as vector illustrations go, it's way off in the distance for me. And I would like to get
Ah,
better at that. I would like to eventually divorce the Adobe Industrial Complex and work with something else. But since I have had Photoshop since the early 90s, it's hard for me to move away from it.
yeah.
it
So
yeah.
that plus the stuff that already comes on your Mac, including Pages, Numbers, and Keynote. I use Keynote almost every month to prepare for our mug meetings, so I'm comfortable with that. But there's still things I can learn.
The Affinity Suite is something I have been pushing for years to people who are looking for something like that on the Mac. Uh, Even paid, it was a phenomenal deal. And now
Mhm.
that
Mm.
Canva has purchased Affinity, and you know, say what you will about that, I'm not the biggest fan of Canva, but what they've done with the Affinity Suite, they always were, the apps always were deeply integrated. You always could open up a designer file within Photos and a Photos file within Publisher and a Publisher file within whatever. You could always mix and match which application you were opening up
Mm.
any particular file within and take advantage of the tools within that application. But now to have them all under one roof, as it were, and make it simply a tab that you click to switch between the different applications within the suite is huge. And you're right, there have been a ton of great improvements to the suite since it got released. And like you, I started out with Aldus PageMaker. That was my desktop publishing app way back when, which of course ultimately became Adobe InDesign. And I was a very heavy user of InDesign and PageMaker for years and years and years. But that ended with the Adobe Creative Suite 6. When they switched over to the subscription plan, I simply could not justify the cost. I'm a single person, small business, and what they wanted on a yearly basis was just way too much for me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was a long road to find a great replacement for it, but the Affinity Suite became it. And one of the things that makes being able to bring my InDesign documents into Publisher and work with them was huge. And it's not a direct import. You can't directly bring an InDesign document in, but thanks to applications like ID Marks, which is a conversion tool, you can convert your InDesign documents to IDML, which is a standard file interchange format that Adobe created for publishing documents, and bring that IDML file into Publisher. And it's just fantastic. Great pick. Great resolution. Great pick. Great resolution, Bob. I like that. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's something that I need to do as well. I do have sitting on in my dock here. I do have Affinity Photo. I haven't had the other apps, but I've had some experience with vector graphics as well. But so this is particularly interesting to me to dive into the new offering from Affinity, which combines all three. That's definitely something I need to do as well. So a shared New Year's resolution.
You know, what's interesting about Vector, and then we'll move on to your first resolution, Darren. What's interesting about Vector is I could never wrap my head around the Vector tools whenever I used Adobe Illustrator. I just could not wrap my head around it. But there's something...
Oh, I love a Bezier curve. I love a Bezier curve, me.
I could never figure it out. In fact, if he were listening, he could verify that I always did this. But when I needed something adjusted in an Illustrator file, I'd reach out to my friend Paul and say, "Hey, Paul, can you tweak this for me?" He'd do the tweak and send it back, and it would take him seconds, and I'd be sitting there struggling for minutes on end, if not hours on end, trying to get that simple, stupid thing to work. The Bezier curves just drove me crazy. But something about the way Affinity Designer presents the tools to me, it just clicked. And I don't know what is different. It's essentially the same, but there's something just slightly different about it that allowed it to click in my brain. And I'm now doing vector work all the time in Affinity Designer. So yeah, I love the suite. Darren, what is your first resolution for 2026?
Well, I've quite impressed myself this year actually, because you know what usually happens. You think of a New Year's resolution, and then 6 months down the road, you think, oh, when will I start these New Year's resolutions that I should have made a start on already? But my first New Year's resolution, I've actually already completed, so I've impressed myself with this one. So that was to sort out for listeners of previous shows, you probably know that I've had a bit of an issue with storage and NAS situations. So my New Year's resolution for this year was to actually finally sort out my storage situation, get all my backups in order, retire my ailing NAS, and move myself to the cloud pretty much 100%. So I've done that, and that's worked out really rather well, and all the details of that has gone quite swimmingly.
With Apple having pretty much collapsed the other night, which we discovered when we tried to tune into Palm Royale, it wasn't loading. And I went, oh, okay, this isn't us. And sure enough, I pulled up the status page, and pretty much every Apple service available was down. And then the very next day, Microsoft went down. So you're feeling good about moving everything to the cloud, huh, Darren?
Absolutely, yeah, I've got no problems. Whenever I've well, sort of experienced an outage, I haven't really, because often where someone will tell me there's been an outage, and I didn't notice because at that time I wasn't trying to access it. So often the outages only last a very short time, and very often you don't get an outage on two services at once. So because I'm using cloud services from both Apple and Microsoft, they both don't go down. but it's possible that they would go down at the same time. But then I don't see it as too much of a problem because I just wait for a while and do it a bit later. And it always seems to work out okay so far, touch wood.
Yeah, what was it? 5 hours Apple was down the other night? Yeah, that was
Oh, was that? See, I didn't even
it was
notice.
it was a long time. Fortunately, we just wanted to watch a show, so we flipped over to Hulu instead. But you know,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
I would do the same thing. I have a subscription to Amazon as well, as most of us do. So I have Amazon Video on my Apple TV as well. So if something isn't playing quite right, I can just flick over to watching something else that I've got in my pipeline of things to watch.
that's right. Yeah. Have you considered a hybrid solution?
It's what I've got is semi-hybrid. So I took your advice, Mike, about which
Uh-oh.
external drive to buy. Oh, it worked out really well. So well done. The advice was excellent. So I bought the external drive that you recommended, which is very nice. I'm very pleased with it. Um, uh, Mainly for reliability. I wanted something. Obviously, there's an interesting side road to this, which is what you would choose for semi-long-term storage and reliability. So there's an issue. I mean, SSDs are really rather excellent, but unless you keep them powered all the time, you can have an issue with data potentially disappearing or not be able to be used for longer term archival and so on and backup. So I went for the traditional HDD method. So good old magnetic storage. So once you write your data to it, it sits there happily if you don't power it for a while. So for external disks, it's better really to get an HDD if you're using them for backups. But if you want daily backups that you're going to be plugged in all the time, you can take advantage of the extra speed and the niceness of having an SSD based backup, but they do really need to be powered all the time, really, to make sure you don't lose any, well, potentially lose any data. So yeah, so I've got a bit of a hybrid setup. So I've got two drives, traditional hard disk drives, non-SSDs, and they back up each other. And then I have my day-to-day data usage in both iCloud and OneDrive. So OneDrive backs up what's in iCloud, and iCloud backs up what's in OneDrive. So they both will hopefully never destroy themselves together.
Well, 24 days into the year, that's actually not bad that you met your first resolution already.
Yeah, it's gone pretty well. Yeah, I'm pretty happy. Everything has worked as I was expecting it to. So that's great.
Well, I am going to share a couple resolutions from our listeners here. The first one is from our pal Nick, Nick in Germany. He started out by saying, wow, I really like that question. As you know, I leapfrogged from an iPhone 12 Max to an iPhone 17 Pro, which he says was a good decision, and it fits better in his trouser pocket, he says. But his first resolution really is he has decided to clean up the Mac Studio and PCs of old, as well as programs that are no longer relevant, and files, including ancient photos that have been sitting around his drive, old documents, and then, and this ties into yours, Darren, back up everything to an external drive, or back up everything. I'm going to paraphrase Nick here for a second. Back up everything that he doesn't need immediate access to, or is older, or no longer relevant, or immediately relevant. Back that all up to an external drive, as he doesn't particularly need to look at these items on a daily basis, especially, he says, files from 1995 onwards. So, yeah, absolutely. That ties in perfectly with what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, that's exactly what I've done. I did a bit of a digital detox there, a bit of a digital declutter, to make sure what I was storing offline, essentially, for archival, which is mostly the old stuff, um, that I didn't need access to day to day. And that means that my day-to-day access for my cloud storage is much smaller. So
Mm,
obviously,
right.
it can get if you're a bit of a digital pack rat and you tried to keep everything, not mentioning any names, of course, um, then you can end up with having to pay rather a large sum of money for your ongoing cloud storage. So
Yeah.
if you can like cut it down a bit so that your cloud storage only contains what you want to use, that you're actively, actually working on, or so on, then your cost for cloud is much less. Because there's quite a big jump, isn't there? I mean, it certainly is in the UK, but when you jump from the 200 gig side of things, which is what I'm on, that's plenty for me. I got loads of space, so I'm very happy with that.
Yeah.
But the next tier up is quite a big leap, and there's nothing in between, and then the cost does tend to jump quite drastically there from one to the other. So if you can stay under that 200 gigs, then you're golden. But if you try to keep everything, including all the old stuff that you don't really need day-to-day access to, you'll end up paying possibly a pretty penny for cloud storage if you want to just put it all in one place.
Yeah.
Now, I agree with you, Darren, that backing up your stuff is important to the point where that was my second pick, and
Oh,
I won't go into it.
We'll get to that in a
But
second.
I do have a anecdote that I've heard more than once at Mac User Group when I lean on the backup um, horn. They'll come up to me as, well, why do I need a backup? I don't really do anything that's that important. I do emails and a few photos and look at the web and stuff like that. And I say, well, think of it this way. If you lose all your data that's on your computer, you can always replace it because you can go back and take that picture of your 7-year-old grandchild's birthday party the next time she has a 7-year-old birthday. And
You, spot on, Bob. Spot on.
yeah.
And not only that, I know you listen to the show, Bob. You probably heard us talk about the mythical magical elephant coming into the room and smashing all your electronic equipment, including your computer. When you have a backup and you replace that computer, you can pretty much pick up right where you left off.
Yeah.
And that's so important. I know a lot of folks like to start from scratch, but when something happens to your computer, and it will, having the backup that you can restore to a new one is invaluable. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, one of the
Let's.
advantages of having your stuff in the cloud, especially iCloud, is when the elephant does turn up. Of course, you can just all you need to do is sign into your Apple account, and all the data that you already had on your old machine before it was squashed by the elephant magically comes down and goes into the right folders and the right places where you left them. So yeah, I think of iCloud not just as day-to-day storage, but also a bit of a backup in itself. But I also do. I
It is not a backup.
know.
You cannot
No,
restore
not
your
entire.
entire computer from an
Yes,
iCloud backup. But you can restore your desktop and documents folders. That's true. And you can restore your photos
exactly.
and,
Yeah.
and
So
things like that.
if
Yeah.
most of your stuff is there, then most of your stuff will come
Yeah.
down when you set it up new, and you don't have to do any restores. But I also combine that with sensible long terms backup as well. So I've got both angles covered.
Yeah. And that's important. That's important. Lisa, is another listener who contributed some tech resolutions to this episode, and I'm actually going to jump ahead to Lisa's second resolution because it ties in quite nicely with everything we've been talking about here, and especially to Nick's first resolution. So I'm going to flip-flop hers around. But Lisa wrote, the other thing, remember it's her second one, the other thing I'm going to try to figure out is how to use my backup system for my current system photos and the archived prior years. I've set up multiple duplicate backups, but sometimes, and this is the important part of her resolution, sometimes I forget where I put the backups. For example, I have a Western Digital 15 terabyte drive, which is where I put copies of current system photos, which resides on the OWC SSD that's hooked up to the Mac Mini. Just to make sure that they're saved again. Let's see. Let me make sure I get this right. She puts copies of the current system photos on that external Western Digital because her Carbon Copy Cloner and Time Machine backups don't back up the SSD where the primary library is kept. Okay, so she keeps her primary library on an external SSD in OWC enclosure. That's where she keeps her primary photo library. And then she backs up that primary photo library to the external 15 terabyte Western Digital drive. And the reason she does that separately is because her Carbon Copy Cloner and Time Machine are not set to back up that SSD where her main system photo library is. Got it. Yeah, I was in a similar situation until I purchased a much larger honkin' external drive so that I could back up both my system photo library, which is also on an external SSD, and my internal drive on the Mac. And I just didn't have enough room on my primary backup drive in the past. Eventually saved up enough to get a much larger replacement drive, and now everything's being backed up to that one drive. But in her case, she's backing up to two separate ones. And then she says once a month, she goes to look at that Western Digital external drive to make sure it's starting up, make sure that the files are okay on it. And then she says, I'm not sure if this is the right system, so that's my technology resolution, to relook at how I'm saving my photos in multiple places and make sure that I've got redundancy built in. Yes, absolutely. And that ties in perfectly with what Bob said. You know, yeah, you can't lose those photos because you don't get the opportunity to take that picture of your grandchild's 7th birthday ever again. You get one opportunity at it, and when you lose those photos, you've lost those photos. Yeah, definitely. So making sure you've got redundancy, making sure that you're keeping track, as she said, she wants to make sure she's keeping track of where she's putting the backups. And then, making sure the most important things that are that need to be backed up are being backed up. So, yeah, that would be Lisa's resolution.
Yeah, sounds like she's got it sussed pretty much.
It does. It does sound like she's got a pretty good plan. Yeah. And it's something we've talked about with her on the show before. And I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, but we had this conversation with her. And I think that's where a lot of this setup that she currently has came from, was from that discussion. Well, I'm going to jump ahead to my third resolution because it ties in with everything we've been talking about. And this is the one I couldn't remember and ultimately remembered just this morning as I was getting the notes ready for the show. And that is to clean up the applications folder on my primary Mac. Oh my gosh. Every time I click to open that folder and launch an app that's not on my dock, I'm scrolling through so many apps that I don't know why they're even in there. So I have trouble finding the app that I want to launch. Yes, they're in alphabetical order, but there's so much cruft in there. It's not only apps that I've installed and tried a few times and then promptly forgotten, but it's also apps that I know I used to use all the time, but that I will never use again, either because they flat out no longer work. Yes, there are apps that no longer work in my applications folder,
Oh dear.
or they've lived past their usefulness. So as I scroll through my applications folder, I can easily, quickly pick out maybe 15 to 20 apps that no longer need to be in there. And I just need to get them all
Ah.
cleaned up. And it's something that,
You'll have to use one of our recommendations, which was Pair Cleaner, if you remember, for doing nice uninstalls of apps plus all of their related files that go with each app.
Pair Cleaner was one of our essential apps. And I think I
It was
may have
indeed.
mentioned at some point in the past an app that I use, which is called App Cleaner. App Cleaner is
Yeah,
one
very
that
similar,
I,
very similar.
I
Yeah,
use,
yeah.
very similar to Pair Cleaner. They both do a great job of helping you get rid of some of that junk that's in your applications folder. But then also tying in with what you were saying, Darren, I have so much stuff in my Dropbox folder that does not need to be
Oh
there.
dear.
I'll open up a folder and I'll see a big old honkin' zip file in there. And right next to it, I'll see that same zip file unzipped in its folder.
Oh
And
dear. Storing it twice. Hey.
I'm essentially storing it twice. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, Darren. Sometimes I do that. I unzip a file and then I work on the files within it. And now there's modifications to those files. So before I can just flat out delete that unzipped folder,
Yeah.
I have to make sure that there aren't any modifications in it. And every time I come across something like that, and I know full well I'm taking up, double the storage space. If it's a 6 gig, I'm taking up well over 12 gig of storage space in there. I also realize I have to go through there and make sure I didn't make any modifications to it, which means unzipping it again and then comparing the two folders against each
Comparing the
other.
two, yeah, exactly, and then rezipping it all up if you have made changes.
It's not a great way to work, but it's the way I do work sometimes. And it's there is another resolution for you. Tying in with the cleaning up the application folder, cleaning up my cloud
Yeah.
storage folders is perhaps changing the way I work so that that type of thing doesn't happen in the future.
Uh, I have a short tip though. This is one of the reasons why when I buy a new Mac, I start afresh. And one of the reasons that I like to have things in iCloud that come down when I just log into my Apple ID on a fresh machine. So I never migrate my applications folder from a previous Mac to a new one. So I never get into that situation where I have various application folders coming through from previous Macs and then ending up on my fourth Mac purchase having 200 applications I didn't know where they came from or why they're there, or if they don't work at all, perhaps.
Okay, all right, that's a good tip. That's a good tip. And in my head, I'm realizing that while I have cleaned up some stuff in my applications folder since the time I'm about to mention, I can probably directly trace back the lineage of some of the apps in my applications folder to at least 2006.
Wow.
Because I do exactly what you say not to do. And I bring forward, when I get a new Mac, I just hook up that time machine drive and I bring everything over and I
bring all
just
the
start
cruft with
working
you, yeah.
and pick up where I left off. And there you go. So changing the way I approach and do some of the things on my Mac would be a great resolution for 2026.
Yeah, 26, yes.
Yeah, I almost said 2025. It would have been a good resolution for 2025 too, but here we are.
Here we are.
And with that said, Bob, I think that brings us up to the second resolution you were just hinting at a moment ago. What is your second resolution for 2026? Uh-oh, you're muted. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted. Oh, he's gone.
Sorry about that.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
I probably am going to give a different resolution than you thought I was going to give because I'm agreeing with
Ooh.
all you guys. So you guys must have great minds.
Wow. Wow. What a compliment. I'll take that. Excellent.
So make a resolution to master 10 to 15 core keyboard shortcuts for
Oh,
app
yes.
switching, text editing, screenshots, and so forth. For me, I have 10 or 15 memorized. I'd like to memorize 10 or 15 more with the rest of the stuff that happens on my Mac.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah, that's an excellent one. It took me the longest time to finally cement into my brain Command Shift 5. You know, I have Command Shift 3 and Command
yes.
Shift 4 for screenshots, but Command Shift 5, the newer one for screenshotting, was one that
fancy one.
simply didn't make it into my brain. It just would not stick. And yet it's so incredibly useful, especially when you want to take a video screenshot. I'm putting that in air quotes. A video of your screen. Knowing Command Shift 5 is huge. But Command Shift 4 and then clicking and dragging to select part of a screen or selecting a window with after tapping the spacebar, or Command Shift 3 if you want the whole screen, are probably the keystrokes I use. Gosh, I may even use those more than Command C, Command V, and Command X. You know,
Wow.
it's I use them all the time because I have to share tips with clients and family members, and as they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I use screenshotting a lot. But knowing some of the other keystrokes that are built into the Mac, keystrokes that I know are there, and I'm reminded of them every time I click on the menu to do something. Oh, I could have hit a keystroke for that. That's huge.
If only I could remember the keystroke.
That's exactly it. Yeah. And there are apps to help you remember keystrokes, but then I kind of feel like I might as well just go to the menus.
I think there was one, I don't know the name of it, but there was one app which is quite nice, which just showed an overlay, a nicely presented shortcuts overlay, essentially. Like it's just a very small little lightweight program that whenever you need a reminder, because you can't keep, it's difficult to keep them all in your head. This little program shows you an overlay of the most important ones. I think you can customize it as well in a way, so it shows you a nice translucent overlay over whichever app you're using to give you some of the key shortcuts for that app, or yeah, whatever you're using, or even the OS itself.
We are going to have to go back to the tape, Darren, because I believe we had this exact same conversation last year at some point where we were trying to remember the name of this application. And once again, neither of us can remember the name of it. Let's see. Is it from the folks who make PopCare? Trying to remember.
That possibly rings a bell. I'm sure we can find well, yourself could probably find it, and then we could just pop that in the show notes.
You know what? I think it is. I think it's the folks. I think it's Ergonis. I think it's the ones who make PopCare. Let's see here. Ergonis. KeyQ. That's it. Yep. KeyQ is one of their apps, and it provides it does exactly what you said, Darren. It provides an overlay of the keyboard shortcuts on your Mac. And they make great software. I use PopCare all the time, and KeyQ is one of their titles. I also use Typinator. Apparently I don't use KeyQ, or I would have remembered it. But yeah, those are actually,
it's not one of those apps in your applications folder.
Yeah. Those are their three primary apps. I use Popcar, which we've mentioned as an essential app. I use Typinator and KeyQ. That's their third one. Yeah. I'm sure there are others too. But awesome. Let's see. Where are we here? I think we're up to are we up to your second resolution, Darren?
We may be. Yes, actually. This one's a simple one because it's related to my first uh, endeavors with sorting out my files. Um, so this resolution was to figure out a way of replacing the functions of my NAS for streaming. And because I was having so much trouble with drives and NASes, I was like, well, I need to do this first before I could do resolution number one. So this one has also been completed. Go me, because I had to make sure that this would work before I could jump in and retire my NAS in my first resolution. So I probably should have put these around in a different order. But the resolution was to finally figure out an alternative method of streaming across the network without using a NAS and any setting up of the traditional streaming methods that you would normally use with a NAS. And I managed to solve it, and it all worked out really rather well. I was initially worried because the solution I thought of, which was just to plug a drive into my router and access it across the network, I thought that was a particularly simple and elegant solution. I'm not entirely sure whether that would work because of the size, because most routers only support FAT32 formatted disks, and most media that you would like to store may end up being rather a lot bigger than what FAT32 can support.
That's true.
So I did some investigations to start with and figured out that yes, it was technically possible, even though Windows told me it wasn't. It was technically possible to format a very large drive as a FAT32 drive. You just need to use a bigger partition table, and that's where things originally appeared to suggest that what I was planning wasn't possible. Because when you plug a big drive into a Windows machine and you try to format it, if it's a big drive, it will refuse to format it, graphically at least, as a FAT32 drive, because it doesn't let you go up to the big file block sizes. Whereas on the Mac, if you plug the drive in and format it on the Mac as a FAT32 disk, it does support really large blocks, like 512K blocks, which allows you to format a big drive as a very, very minimal formatted FAT32 drive. So that means I could format it on the Mac, plug it into the router, put files on it, and use it to stream directly to my Apple TV. Problem solved.
I think a big part of the problem is this word that you were using over and over again, and that's Windows. I think that's part of the problem here. No, you're absolutely right.
Formatting it,
formatting it on the Mac and using the extended FAT or exFAT method of formatting.
No, this isn't exFAT. This is no, this isn't exFAT.
Because I don't think FAT32 is available on the Mac anymore. I think you have to go straight to exFAT when you're formatting.
Nope. FAT32 is available on the Mac still in disk utility. I formatted the drive on Tahoe, so I know it's still supported, and you can choose the not partition size as such. It's the block size. So you can format drives with big blocks on Windows, but you can't do it through the graphical formatter. You have to do it from a command line. Whereas on the Mac, you can do it from disk utility, no problem. So yeah, I just thought it was very interesting.
That's pretty interesting. I didn't think FAT32 was in the dropdown anymore when I format drives.
Yeah, it certainly is. I formatted it the other day.
Well, there you go.
Good old
Well,
Apple supporting FAT32.
Shows you how frequently I format FAT32 drives.
That's it. But yeah, the TLDR is that the concept did work. I did a test to start with just a few files. Plugged the drive in to make sure it could be read by the router. Most routers are quite basic, and they'll only accept very basic formatted drives, which is only to be expected, really. And everything worked flawlessly. And now I can actually just throw files wirelessly from my Mac to the drive attached to my router without, and it feels like I've got a server, but without the need of buying or setting up a server.
Right.
All I had to do was format a disk and plug it into the back of the router, and job done pretty much.
Excellent. Excellent. I'm going to jump ahead to my next resolution because this kind of ties into Bob's, learning the keyboard shortcuts, in that, and this is more a resolution for the show. This is a resolution for Mac Eyes Only. It's something that we used to do on the show all the time. Every episode we did this. We had a For Mac Eyes Only quick tip. And I want to be better this year about sharing tips for getting the most from your Mac. It's something that we've kind of gotten away from. We're doing the Essential app every episode, but I think I want to get back into sharing quick tips here. Not starting with this episode because I don't have one ready. But I want to get into sharing more tips because I hear time and time again of folks who want to take better advantage of the tools that the Mac affords them, but they don't really know where to start. And I think sometimes just sharing a few simple tips here and there gets people's juices flowing and energizes them to seek out new ways to use this amazing hardware and software that we have at our disposal. And part of that, too, is these presentations that I've given in the past that I've called the hidden gems of Mac OS. And people keep asking for more. I'm like, I've given you all my tips, but we want more tips. And so I start to assemble more tips. And we did that this last fall. Someone asked if I could give another Hidden Gems of Mac OS talk. And I said, you know what? I can, but I've used all the tips. I have it in my notes. And then we did our own Hidden Tips of Mac OS episode, and I borrowed from that to do my talk.
Perfect.
I think doing more tips for folks who are who want to get the most from their Mac is something I want to do in 2026, and we'll revive the For Mac Eyes Only quick tips here on the show. So that would be my next resolution for 2026.
Heard it here first.
Heard it here first. And with that, I'm going to jump on to Lisa's next resolution, because this has to do with the latest versions of Mac OS and iOS that Apple released last fall. And her next resolution is to install iOS 26.3 when it comes out on her two iPhone 14 Pros that they have. And then, this is the important part, figure out how to use it so that we can read the screens on our phones, that they can use the photos, they can use their regular apps. And her particular challenge is to dive into understanding the settings options so that her husband doesn't go nuts with vision-related liquid glass problems, and changes that are incomprehensible to him. Because when Apple does these things, he always asks her, why, and she doesn't have an answer. So she wants to install iOS 26.3 once it's released, and then try to dig into the settings and make them fit not only her expectations, but her husband's expectations and needs as well. And as she says, she's much more willing to futz with new releases and with figuring out how to do things, and she loves the challenge, but he does not. And so being and these are her words, being the substandard tech wizard in the house, who has to make it all okay, that's another reason why she wants to do this. And she says why she relies on For Mac Guys Only. Thank you, Lisa. That was very nice of you to say.
Excellent.
And why I want to do more tips. In fact, I did share with Lisa via email some of the settings that I've made to my iPhone to make liquid glass a little bit more palatable to me. So once she gets 26.3 installed, she's currently on the 18 series of iOS. Once she gets that installed, she's going to try a few of these things and see how it works for them. But that is one of her resolutions for 2026 is to get iOS
That's a really
on her phones and
sorry.
start
Yeah,
using
that's
it.
a really good resolution.
Yeah.
I think I'm very pleased when people say they want to dive into the settings menus and discover what's in there, because it's a minefield in there. It can be quite difficult to find a setting even if you know that it exists. But there are hundreds of settings in there, the combination of which can make a big difference to how a device looks and feels to you or someone else you know. So yes, I'm full of praise for anyone who wants to dive into the settings and discover what's there. That's exactly what I like to see.
Absolutely, yeah. And again, this all ties together. It's interesting how much in parallel so many of our resolutions are for this year. Whether it's learning keyboard shortcuts, whether it's learning the ins and outs of the settings on iOS, whether it's sharing more quick tips, these are all things that people, and myself included, eat up. I love to hear new tips and tricks for the Mac. I love to be awakened to something that I've never done before, but is going to save me so much time if I keep using it in the future. So, yeah. I do have another resolution from Nick, but I'm going to save that for just a bit here. Bob, did you have another resolution for us for 2026?
As a matter of fact, I do.
Excellent.
This kind of piggybacks onto your getting rid of the applications that you don't use.
Yeah.
And it's broadly titled Simplification. Reducing redundant devices and applications. If you have more devices on your desktop than you need and that you use, get rid of them. The other thing is, along those lines, is letting go of tech that no longer fits how you work or live at this time. For example, behind me, I have a duffel bag with cables, power supplies, power cords, stuff like that in there. And a few years ago, I went through and got rid of all the SCSI stuff.
Oh, I was going to say, I bet you've got a SCSI cable.
Oh, but what happens when someone says, "Hey, Bob, do you have this SCSI cable?"
I say, ask somebody else. But
Absolutely.
I have a lot of stuff in there. It has gained weight back to the point where it's about 25 pounds of stuff. I need to go through that and get rid of some of that stuff. I no longer have a zip drive.
Oh, I've got two of those. Parallel port yet?
I'm trying.
Oh no, not a parallel port. Mark. Yeah. Shocking.
I have a few zip disks right in front of me, right there.
Wow.
Well, Bob, if it's any consolation, I have a giant Rubbermaid tub of that very stuff at my office. So anytime you'd like to come by and grab a few things to supplement what's in your duffel bag, let me know, and you can have pick of the litter.
That's it. You never know. If you need a SCSI cable, you can just pop over to Mike's and grab a SCSI cable.
Oh, there is a SCSI cable in there. I know there is. Yeah. It's all yours.
Excellent.
All yours. Well, Darren, I don't know if you can top that, but what would your next
Wow.
resolution be for 2026?
I don't know if this is going to top that. What if it's possible to top that? Yeah, this one's a very different one. So I have a New Year's resolution because when I was 12, I learnt to play the guitar and got reasonably good at it. So um, uh, an unknown talent I have is a guitarist. So what I would like to do is to take that up again, but with a slant for modern technologies. And one of the things I like to do, there's a particular type of music manuscript that for guitarists, which are called tabs. So they're called guitar tabs, and essentially they tell you where to place your fingers and what strings to pluck in the right order to get the desired output as such. So these guitar tabs, I want to explore those as a way to taking up playing the guitar again, and have them in easy to access form on my iPad. So my New Year's resolution is to discover guitar tabs for songs that I'd like to learn how to play and to get back into playing the guitar, and also to use those from my iPad instead of all the 1,000 pieces of paper I used to have back in the day.
That is a fantastic resolution. Just to get back into playing the guitar again, I think is huge. A lot of folks need
Yeah.
other creative outlets like that to give our brains a rest from everything that we deal with on a daily basis. And sitting there, whether it's noodling with the guitar or composing a new song or playing somebody else's song, it's a nice distraction for your brain to relax a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, you can use it as if it's a meditation in a way. You can once you get pretty proficient at it a little while, you can lay back with your eyes closed and play away. And also, it's really good for your brain as well. Particularly movement. So when you're learning a new skill based on moving your fingers and coordinating timing and stuff, so it's all perfect for guitar work. It really it's like a brain exercise, really. You don't realize you're really having a great workout for the brain, whilst you're enjoying learning, because it is fun to play the guitar. And once you master a particular track and a set of chords and so on, you don't realize you've just given your brain an excellent workout as well to make sure you don't go a bit doolally in your in your elder years. So it's excellent for your mind as well. So yeah, so it's a good one. Yeah, I need to get back into playing the guitar. I was pretty good when I was 12, and then I've had a whole big long block of time in between that I haven't really touched the guitar in ages. But I'd like to just get back into playing again. But again, using IT slants to it, having all of my guitar tabs and music on my iPad to be able to play from.
Fantastic, and a great use for the iPad, actually.
Perfect. Yeah, yeah. I've heard of quite a few instances where professional musicians would have. Usually not the big iPad, but they have iPads and they'll put them on their music stands. And I think I've heard of some software which can listen to what you're playing and effectively turn the page as you get to the right spot in the music, which is absolutely amazing. So that astounded me when I heard about that. I was like, oh, we're living in the future.
Well, I was going to jump to one of Nick's resolutions for 2026, but I think instead I'm going to go back to one of mine because not only does this tie into Bob's, but it also ties into yours. And I just realized it ties into yours, Darren, because one of my resolutions for 2026 is to actually not toss out old hardware, but make better use of old hardware. Whether it's an old Mac, whether it's an old iPhone, whether it's an old iPad, or even a PC. I want to make better use of this equipment that I spent, let's face it, thousands of dollars on, and is now just sitting there gathering dust. And guess what? It was fantastic equipment when I bought it, but it's still fantastic equipment now. It just
Still
can't run the
works.
latest version of Mac OS. It just can't run the latest version of iOS or iPad OS. But how can I make better use of it? And one way you can make better use of it is to turn it into your little guitar tab device. You take an old iPad,
Perfect use for that sort of
load up the
exactly.
app on
Perfect use
it,
for an
put it
older
into
iPad.
notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. That iPad can be dedicated to just that purpose. We have an old iPad, actually. It was an old iPhone, but it's an old iPad that is dedicated to playing the music in my wife's shop. And there are other great uses for iPads and iPhones that, it might not be the safest thing to browse the internet with these days, but it makes a great security camera. Or it,
Absolutely.
it makes a great music player in the store, or it makes a great guitar tab. It makes a great place to keep your notes. It makes, there are lots of uses for them. So rather than going out and spending another $300 on another iPad, I'll just make use of an old one.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think I would much rather do that than see it crushed into bits of aluminum and glass.
Absolutely.
If I can make use of it, my resolution for 2026 is to make use of it. And I'm actually working on a presentation to do just that with older Macs. Macs that maybe can't run the latest version of Mac OS any longer, but you can still put to really, really good use and do it securely. So it's something that I'm working on for this year, and it's something I want to do myself. So that would be my, okay, so it's not a SCSI cable, but if I can make better use of, that 2011 iMac that's sitting there on the floor, I'm going to do it. And that's
right.
something that
Excellent.
I have in the plans for 2026. So that would be my make better use of old hardware resolution.
Excellent.
Yeah. Cables notwithstanding.
Yeah, you might not need that SCSI expansion card anymore.
That's right. That's right. Or maybe you do. Maybe you do. You never know. Keep it there on the shelf, just in case. Just in
you
case.
might come across a really old Power Mac setup that has the right slot, and then you think, I'm so glad I saved that card. I know what I can do.
So glad I saved it. Now I can finally, well, anyway. So that's my next resolution for 2026. Bob, did you have any additional resolutions for this year? I didn't ask how many you had before we started. Oh, muted.
Well,
Still muted.
It depends on how you count them. I have a document here in front of me that has 9 different points,
Ooh.
and each point has 3 or 4 bullets underneath it.
Well, Bob came
So
ready to play.
I can keep going. I can keep going for quite a while, but
Wow.
I do have give back to your tech community.
Oh, good one.
oh, nice
And
one.
you can,
Yes.
and you can do that by joining a local Mac user group. Because even if the people
Brilliant.
who are sitting there think, well, I don't know anything here, I can't possibly give back to the group. You got to remember that every person there knows something that somebody else doesn't know.
Yeah.
So you can give back that way. If you are a mug member now, volunteer and volunteer to help the group and expand the group or improve the group. Um, I have too many jobs at my local user group, and I could love to offload some of those. Another thing to give back to your tech community is volunteer as tech support at a local women's shelter, homeless shelter, assisted living home, or
Yeah, that's very
hospice
nice.
care place. Um, those are ways that you can give back to your community, and I think that everybody should give back to their community in one way or another. So that would be my next.
Yeah, I think that's a great resolution. And, we would be remiss to point out, and I certainly was going to ask you to do this at the end, Bob, but groups like yours, the Tucson Mac user group, you accept members from, well, all around the world because
Well,
you're,
we accepted
Wow.
you.
well, right? I mean, that says a lot. So
Oh, that's brilliant.
if,
So if you don't have a local group that you can be part of, find one that you can be part of.
yeah,
Uh, Tucson Macintosh user group at tmug.com
hmm
uh, is a good place to start. I have a listing on our tmug.com website of a lot of groups throughout the US. Sorry, Darren, uh,
Oh,
that lead you there. And if you don't find one that you can be with, join TMUG.
hmm
TMUG holds monthly meetings, and you need not know the secret handshake to attend.
just the Zoom password.
Just the Zoom link, yes.
excellent.
And I happen to know for a fact that not only, yes, have you, whether smartly or not, accepted me as a member, but you also have members from other states across the U.S. as well, and possibly even from outside the U.S. I don't know that for certain, but the groups like TMUG have a very long history here in the U.S. and up until recent years primarily met in person, but now with the move to meeting virtually via Zoom and sometimes hybrid in person and Zoom, um, it's possible for anyone to join any group that's active, growing, and gives you the opportunity to uh, pick up those tips or tricks that we were talking about earlier that maybe you didn't know before.
Unfortunately, Darren, I'm guessing you are in the GMT time zone.
I am indeed, yes. Good old
So
UK.
our meetings, we love to have you in one of our meetings, but
But the meetings would
um,
probably be at 2 o'clock in the morning.
it'd probably be about 2 o'clock in the morning.
That's when
Excellent.
you're just hitting the ground running at that time, Darren.
Yep, yeah, I could could definitely do that. Yeah, don't see why not.
Well,
Hopefully, it's not the same as Groucho Marx. I wouldn't become a member of a place that would accept me as a member.
Well, I know you had quite the list of resolutions for 2026, Darren. What would your next resolution for this year be?
Well, this is where I'm starting to run out of resolutions, but I'm not as prolific as Bob here. I do have one more, so that's not too bad. I have one more simple resolution, but again, I'm doing really well this year. This is one I've completed. Excellent.
Whoa.
um, Again, it's amazing. I've pretty much done for the year. I've done everything now. So this is to review all your subscriptions. So it's very easy to review your Apple subscriptions because they're all listed there and they're very easy to manage. You can click on your face on the settings menu and list your Apple related subscriptions, and they're fabulous in there, very easy to manage. But also to look at all the other things you're subscribing to. Do you really use that service that you've been subscribing to for the last however long, and you've never used their service, or maybe you joined the gym 1 year and you haven't even set foot in the gym. That might be a thing to review. So my resolution would be to review all your subscriptions and make sure you only keep the ones active that you are actually using. And if you don't use some and you clear up those subscriptions, that gives you a bit more leeway to perhaps subscribe to something else that you would make use of. So yeah, without spending any extra money. So it can either save you money, or it can save you time from actually using things that you make use of, and not just hide away in a cupboard or something.
That's right. That's right. And I am going to second your final resolution here for 2026, Darren, with Nick's final resolution, because Nick wrote, those monthly expensive subscriptions like Netflix, Amazon Prime, Paramount Plus,
Brilliant.
Disney Plus, HBO Max, and so on will be examined and evaluated as to what I really need and what I even watch. Furthermore, those software
Exactly.
subs that I've forgotten, and this is I think the one that gets a lot of people, the software subscriptions. He writes, those software subs that I've forgotten or never used lately but still pay for, cut them out as well. And he writes, actually, 2026, I've started to examine and cancel those yearly contracts for technical devices like TV, telecommunication, garden equipment, and insurances for non-existing hardware. That's another place that
Exactly,
people
yeah.
get trapped. You know, you have
That's where they get you.
you have this old hardware that you've replaced, and guess what? You're still paying for an extended warranty on it, and you no longer use it. So those kind of things are good to go through and get rid of as well. So, yeah, great minds think alike, Darren. You and Nick both picked that as
Indeed.
your
Wow.
final resolution for 2026. Lisa, we'll go with one more from Lisa, and then I think we'll do one more from Bob, and then I'm going to wrap up with one because you said that was your last one, right, Darren?
Yep.
Okay, so we'll do one more from Bob, we'll do one more from Lisa, and then one more from me, and then we'll move on to our essential app. Lisa wrote, and I agree with this one, the one thing, well, I shouldn't say I agree with this one. Lisa wrote, the one thing I do not have as a resolution is using AI in my everyday life. I feel that using AI to summarize things for me and do my reading would just make me stupider. So I don't have to do it for a job because I'm retired. So I'm avoiding all the AI stuff except for things that come with an application like Amazon. When I asked to look for a review of an item that I know it's AI summarizing what the people wrote, I thought, okay, I kind of like that, but I'm not doing it myself to summarize people's emails or read books for me or tell me a summary of a book and all that kind of stuff. I just don't need to, and I think it would make me less human. Well, I think that's an excellent point and a fair point. When you start to rely on computers to do all the work for you, it kind of flies in the face of what we were talking about with your picking up the guitar again, Darren. You're not allowing your brain to work. You're allowing your brain to check out, as it were. Yeah, and you're not exercising the mind. So I think in that regard, Lisa is absolutely spot on. I don't remember if we were live yet when I talked about this, but in regards to the show title, I came up with one. And then I thought, oh, let's see what ChatGPT can come up with. And I threw a few out there, and I ended up not using one of them because one of the titles it came up with was the one I had come up with. And I think, for me, it's more fun to sit there and noodle around and play with words and come up with something that's fun and in my case, punny, than it is to just throw it out to something like ChatGPT and say, hey, do this for me. Because then, like Lisa, I'm not exercising my mind. So that's a great resolution for 2026, Lisa.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I wouldn't say to avoid all AI, but certainly the summarization you can you sort of take it or leave it. So I think people are using AI features sometimes without realizing it.
Yeah.
So, say if you're in photos and you're searching for a photo of a specific thing, say a party when someone is wearing a sock on their head, then
What parties do you
rather
go
than
to,
you,
Darren?
oh, very interesting parties. So uh, rather than you looking through 10,000 photos, it's much nicer to ask the Photos app where the party wearing sock person is, rather than you trying to waste a lot of time trying to find it yourself. So AI can be extremely useful in certain situations, but I can completely agree with the sentiment of summarization can be a bit too much. I mean, and you can easily, but that's good. And I think the way that Apple has approached implementing AI, sprinkling it around all of the operating systems and pieces of software, I think they've approached it really nicely, because you can take or leave elements of AI that you choose to use, and you're not assailed with it all in one go in one place, and sort of feeling like you have to use it. So Apple does make it very easy for you to ignore anything you wish to. So
Right. Yeah.
well done, Apple.
Yeah. And I should have read this sentence out loud to myself before I tried to read it on the show, but Lisa did mention that the AI summarizations of reviews and things like that are useful, and that it does sound like she plans to continue using those, but she doesn't want it to do things like reading people's emails to her. She would rather get the
Absolutely,
full
yeah.
context of the email than have it summarized.
Quite right. Yeah, I
That
agree
kind of stuff.
completely.
Yeah, and so I think I agree with that. Oh, and then the second thing, Darren, is I don't think, Bob, I don't think Darren's talking about a party, like a singular thing. I have a feeling that what he's talking about is nightly at the local pub. I think that's really
Well,
what he's
yes,
talking about here.
That could be.
it could well be.
Okay,
They do
we've
stay open for
had,
quite a long time over here in the UK. The pubs, closing time can be quite a long time into the night.
that's right. Oh, there's your guitar. Closing time. There you go. Do that.
Wow.
Okay, so we've had our last resolutions from Nick. We had our last resolution from Lisa. We had our last resolution from Darren. Bob, what is your ultimate resolution for 2026?
Well, it kind of piggybacks on the one about AI. To prepare for this broadcast and to prepare for the final podcast of the year from the old Mac gang, I asked Perplexity to give me some Mac-related resolutions. And the number one that came up says, commit to a monthly digital cleanup, empty downloads, archive old photos and videos to external or cold storage, which we've talked about tonight, uninstall unused apps to free up space and reduce clutter, which again, we've already talked about. So again, we're all kind of coming to the same place. And you can use artificial intelligence to help you, but don't let it direct you. Don't let it stop you from doing other things.
100%, Bob. I agree with
Absolutely.
that sentiment. I've had this conversation with others. I look at AI and its tools that are available to me as a means to supplement or augment my primary thinking, but to me it's just a tool. It's not meant to replace anything I'm currently doing. It's something, like I said with the show titles, maybe go out there and say, here's a few things I've been thinking about. What other ways can I phrase this? Using it as a means to supplement what I'm doing and to perhaps spark some ideas in my head that I can pull from without directly grabbing it and using it verbatim is more, that's more how I'm using AI so far. I certainly do not like using AI to replace creative endeavors like um, uh, making a movie, total AI generated movie, or music,
Yeah.
or things like that, or literature. I'm not a fan of that. In fact, just last night I saw a commercial on television for an insurance company, and at the very bottom of it, it said something along the lines of images generated with AI. Well, I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, well, duh. It just looks like it was generated with AI. And
Ah,
I, I suppose at some point it might become the norm, and we look at it and we don't think, gosh, that looks weird. It looks
yeah.
unhuman. But
That's what I worry about a little bit actually as well when it comes to a point, and it probably will happen, because currently we can sort of tell, we can pretty much
yeah,
tell what is generated, but there will probably come a time where we won't be able to tell, and then that becomes very difficult then because it's like, do you take any notice of what I've just seen because it was generated for me, or was a human involved in creating this, and it has more value. So I think it'll there'll be a time when it'll be difficult to tell what is and isn't AI, and I think it would be really good, and I'd like the people that host video, for instance, YouTube, for instance, to do something like make sure any AI generated content is tagged
mm.
so that people can tell and also choose to filter it one way or the other to choose what they want to see from either real human generated content to something else that was entirely generated by a machine.
You said something there just a moment ago that I really liked, and that was uh, whether the creative content was generated by a human and therefore has more value.
Yes, indeed.
Those four words are, I think, incredibly important to how we approach AI and its use in creative endeavors. It is getting more difficult to tell when it comes to textual content, to the point where, and this was in the news just this last week, Wikipedia uh, many months ago created a guideline to help its editors determine whether something may or may not be written by AI. Well, of course, somebody had to take those guidelines and feed it into AI and say,
Of course.
use these guidelines to avoid writing like you are AI. And therefore, they're training it to be more human sounding. But
Yes.
when it's 100% generated by AI, what value does it have? And I think your phrase, therefore it has value, is very important, and certainly a guideline we should be using.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Did that spark any new resolutions for you, Darren, before we wrap up?
I'm fresh out of resolutions. I'm pretty good. I will probably think of a few more, especially since I'm doing so well now. I've done two of my three resolutions. Um, Actually, no, three of my four resolutions I've completed already. So I'm doing pretty well. So when I think up any more resolutions, I'll have some room there to complete those as well, possibly in the new year.
Well, I have completed 0 of my resolutions, including my final one.
Excellent.
And this is what we're going to wrap up with. Again, this is a resolution for the show. It's something that I I did somewhat half-heartedly many, many years ago. And after several discussions with close friends about how they're approaching this type of thing, I realized that I really need to be better about it myself. And that is to do better, to be better at staying in contact with For Mac Guys Only's listeners. And the main way to do that, I think, is to fire up the newsletter again. Email newsletters are
Oh,
one of the best ways to get concentrated information into the hands of people who want it. And whether it's the quick tip we present or quick tips that we have not presented on the show but are extra to the newsletter, whether it's a non-AI generated summarization of the episode of the content of the episode, whatever it might be, staying in better contact and helping to rebuild the community that we lost many years ago when we started to pull back on the number of episodes that we did every year. Rebuilding it and rebuilding that channel of communication is one of the things I would like to do this year. So at some point, we'll be talking about the rebirth of the For Mac Guys Only newsletter, and I hope that anyone who wants to stay in touch with the show will subscribe to it when it's available. So
cool.
keep an eye or an ear out for that, and we'll have that available
Excellent.
soon.
Cool. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, funny you should say that actually, because I know we put, or you do all the hard work actually, Mike, but we
Yep.
put details in the show notes for what we discuss on shows. But sometimes people don't realize it's there, and that sort of thing as part of like a newsletter would be really quite useful, I think. Yeah, great.
Yeah, absolutely. So, did you make any tech resolutions for the new year? Blah, blah, blah. Let me try that again. Did you make any tech resolutions for the new year? If so, what are they? Be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments of this week's show notes found at formaccguysonly.com. Well, Bob, we are up to the point of the show where we do something that we call our essential app. We have been presenting an essential app to our listeners pretty much every episode for a couple years now. We used to only do it on an annual basis. We would have an essential apps episode every December or January. And once we wrapped up our last big essential apps episode, we said, why don't we keep this going? So that's exactly what we've been doing. And when we have a guest on like you, we reach out and say, hey, guest. Hey, Bob, would you like to present an essential app this episode? And you said, yeah, you did have one that you wanted to talk about. So what is your essential app pick this episode, Bob?
My pick for essential app is AnyList. It is a small, very light iOS application called AnyList. Like you could make any list with it, and it is free on iOS, but iOS and iPadOS. But if you subscribe, you get extra features. Here in this household, we do subscribe. First, think of a grocery store list, your shared grocery store list. And I share this list with my wife. And what that allows us to do is type in things that we want to put on the list. And if we sometimes go to the grocery store together, we can get two carts and go around and each take part of the list and do that. And as soon as we knock it off the list by touching on it in our phones, it draws a line through it and makes it disappear. So we're not going to
Nice.
be double buying stuff. The other thing that's nice about it is you can customize any list on the grocery end comes with a pre-built list, and you can add to it and you can expand on any one thing. For example, I've got it open here on my Mac and I typed in the word salt, and it gives me a choice of Epsom salt, kosher salt, pool salt, seasoned salt, popcorn salt, adobo salt, seasoned salt, water softener salt, and even saltine crackers. Um, when it suggests something to what you're typing, it puts the stuff that you've used the most at the top. So that's helps make it faster. But you can also add to it a definition and a quantity of what you want to buy. For example, one of these said, I said salt, and I edited it to put in popcorn salt, which is something we use here once in a while. If you subscribe to it as a free app, I can share it on my phone with my wife and other people in the household, if there were other people in the household. With the subscription, which is something like $25 a year, you can not only share it, but you can take a photo of the item. Because when my wife says, get some ice cream, she means this particular brand, this particular flavor.
Yeah.
And if I come home with the wrong stuff, I'm in trouble. So we take a picture of it. Excuse me. The other thing that we use it for, we can have private lists and shared lists. One of the other, I have a private list for stuff I want to get at the hardware store or Harbor Freight or at different places. I use it to list common auto parts for our cars, such as the VIN number and the part number for the air cleaners and stuff like that. But one of the other things we have is a shared list, is I put in a list of all my prescriptions, and as we get older, we tend to get more and more of those things. And my wife has made one for her medications, and we share it, hoping that this never is needed, that one of us goes into the hospital, goes into the ER, and the other one takes them there, and the doctor says, well, what drugs is your partner taking? She takes a bunch of them. I don't know what they are. So here in the list, I have the medications, not only what they are, but the quantity, the size, and morning and night or noon or something like that. So we have that information if we need it, and hopefully we won't need it. So I heartily recommend this because not only can it keep lists of all this stuff, it also can keep your recipes. And if you look at a recipe that you have entered, you can tick off the different ingredients and have that automatically added to your shopping list.
Oh, nice.
And it is very good at importing recipes from other places like, oh, we have a list of 8 ingredients. You copy all the ingredients and you go into the ingredients section, you just paste it in. It puts them in
Wow.
in a
Nice.
nice list for you. So that's AnyList, and I recommend it.
The recipes and the meal planning aspect of it was something that I really focused on when I went to their website. I had not heard of AnyList before, and so when you mentioned it the other day, I went to check it out. And yeah, right now, if I have a recipe, and by recipe I mean the stuff that Janet has shared with me, or I should say the stuff that my wife has shared with me, and this is the way you're supposed to make it, that goes into notes right now. But the thing about having it in notes, even though I put them in a separate folder called recipes within notes, is it doesn't do
So it
most of the
disappears.
stuff that AnyList can do, like adding those ingredients to your shopping list, which is then,
Yeah,
you know,
that's brilliant.
a second list alongside your recipe. It doesn't have to be part of the recipe. It's a whole separate list. I thought that was great. I love that it can import recipes from websites, which right now, if I come across something, I tap share and send it to notes, and it's a website embedded in a note. It's not terribly useful unless I go in and copy and paste it out of that website. So that by itself is just fantastic. But then it also has meal planning functionality, which I thought was great too. Now, you did mention the Mac version, and one thing I noted is that the Mac version of their app is not free. In other words, if you want to use it on your Mac, you do have to subscribe to it. But it's actually very reasonable. It's $9.99 a year for the subscription, or if you have the household plan, like you mentioned you have, it's $14.99 a year. That's quite reasonable for all the extra functionality that it gives you, including a web version of it. So in kind of a nod to Windows using folks, they said you can use AnyList on your PC with their web app, which is great. And then as far as mobile devices, they also offer a version for Android. So that's a fantastic app pick, Bob. And we're going to link to AnyList.com in our show notes. Thanks, Bob. Great pick.
Cool.
And I think that's going to do it for this episode of From Mac Guys Only. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Remember, we do love to get your letters. So if you have any comments about the show, a tip to share, a software or hardware problem with your Mac, be sure to leave your favorites in the comments of this week's show notes found at formacguysonly.com, or drop me a line, mike@formacguysonly.com. And do please be sure to subscribe to the show's YouTube channel at youtube.com/FMEOTV and click that little notification bell so you can find out when we're going live. You can join our chat room and you can catch all the behind the scenes stuff that doesn't make the final cut of the show. Bob, what are some of the best ways for folks to get a hold of you? And do mention, you kind of let it go by a little while ago, but mention your other podcast that you're on too.
Well, there is tmug.com, Tucson Macintosh Users Group, and the podcast that I'm on with Marty Gensius, you know him, and is the Old Mac Gang. And that happens live generally on Tuesday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. You can also find me at my photography website, dangerousbobphotography.com.
Wow. Love it.
Or my regular website, which is thinkbob.com. I thought of that name back during the Think Different marketing scheme for Apple.
I love it. I love it. Thinkbob.com. And I'm sorry, I didn't know your photography website before. What is your photography website?
Dangerous Bob.
Dangerous Bob.
Photography.
Yeah.
.com.
When you're not thinking about Bob, do know that he's dangerous.
There's a photo of me on the homepage for the photography website that shows me wearing my cowboy hat and standing in front of the household fireplace during the Eisenhower administration.
Oh.
Wow.
That guy's be careful, that guy's very dangerous.
Very dangerous. Thanks, Bob. I'm so glad you could join us today. And
Thank you
Darren,
for inviting me.
Darren, what's the best way for folks to get a hold of you?
Yes, if people would like to get a hold of me, they can contact me at darren@formacisonly.com.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. Thanks to Darren and Bob for joining me this episode. Stay subscribed, and we'll talk to you next time. And with that said, we will wrap up the live stream here. Thanks to the folks who joined us today. Thanks to Brian. Brian is a fellow Arizonian. Is that the right way to say it?
Or you could say Zoni.
A Zoni,
Sony.
who joined us in the chat room today. And I know that you had mentioned a couple folks that were sending you messages while we're on the live stream. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. And I'm going to go ahead and throw up the end card here, end the live stream, and I'll be right back, guys. Bye, everyone.
Bye.